Welcome back to our Texas Real Estate and Construction YouTube channel. Today we have Carlos Hernandez Canales. We're going to talk a little bit of development, a little bit about his background, his story, and honored. Carlos, how we doing?
Hey man, I'm doing good. It's good to talk again. It's been about 3 years since we met, and I'm happy to be doing this podcast.
Absolutely. I know I said it a little before we got on the mic, but it's crazy how time has flown by. So much has changed, so much in the real estate market, and so much with you as a businessman. I know when we reconnected, I thought, man, this is so cool. Really your story and what you've done and what you're going to do in the future. And I'm glad to have you here to chat about it.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate the opportunity. You know, um, it's always good to give back. And be able to kind of give my input on some experiences I've had in the real estate and construction industry. And yeah, I guess I can start off by just kind of introducing myself, a little background on the family business, and a little bit of how we met and kind of that background. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and start. So, um, my name is Carlos Hernandez, from Zacatecas, Mexico. Um, Moved to Birmingham, Alabama when I was 3 years old. Um, Grew up in a uh, construction industry family. So my family runs a Division 9 interior subcontractor. They do work all over the state of Alabama. A lot of like your big college towns, like the University of Alabama, Auburn University, UAB, South Alabama. Um, you know, Anywhere from student housing projects to small residential houses where when it first started, um, industrial offices, retail, multi-use. So grew up, that's what the family business was. That's all I knew growing up was, I was either going to go, I wanted to go to college, and kind of get experience in understanding like how business works and stuff. Um, but my background is in finance. Got a finance degree with a minor in commercial real estate from the University of Alabama. Um, Part of that was just because I remember being on site as a field engineer, running crews, um, on our scope of work, which is the drywall, metal, stud framing. Um, I would see the property developers come out on site before the project was finished in stages, and come show it to, I guess, their investors, and also possibly the property management companies start to show like portions of the property for like leasing purposes. And I really remember one day, being on the job site. I'm like, I really like construction, but I really like that side of the business, how a cash flowing asset can, once it's through development and once it's built, it's a really good investment, in appreciating, property that does not lose value. Essentially, it's gonna just never gonna be a bad investment for yourself. So, I toured the University of Alabama and I spoke to a gentleman by the name of Grayson Glaze. He's a very, I don't know if you had the chance to meet him yet. He has a really big network all over the state and obviously through the university, and all over, like, honestly, the country, like with different UA students coming in from all over the United States. We have a big footprint of out of state students. So, spoke to Grayson, told him my background in construction and how I kind of wanted to do something in real estate. And he pitched, the program and really showed me like what the opportunities were and welcomed me with open arms. And I was very set on the University of Alabama, just of the warm welcome, uh, you know, a mentor like Grayson that, helped me develop as a student, but also as like professional and like um, personal as well. He's someone that I could just pick up the phone and call for life advice. And yeah, man. So, um, I'm a first generation college student. Um, had to, my father always told me, like, hey, he started us at the very, um, bottom of positions in the construction industry. Um, I would spend my summers learning, you know, every little thing involved in as a drywall company, as simple as, hey, you got to clean up drywall today.
Yeah.
All when drywall was being hung, my father always liked a very clean job site. So this just spoke of the quality of work, but also of your work area. And being in construction, you want to keep a very clean job site for safety hazards. So he taught us very young to, hey, we need to clean up our space. Start cleaning the units, go unit by unit, clean, make sure everything's ready to go from, you know, when they would start insulating the units to hanging to finishing, and then obviously sanding, getting it ready for paint. Um, and I would spend my summers learning something new. One summer I would spend metal framing, and then understanding how to finishing in drywall, how to do acoustical ceiling panels. So just a little bit of everything. Before I got to a field engineer management role, he made sure that when we got to that position in the family business, that before we could give orders to anybody in crews, that we knew what we were talking about. And it just built a lot of character throughout the years and just handed a lot of responsibility at a young age, just because, it, it was a business that was constantly growing. And, we started as like being a sub to a subcontractor. So typically, how that works is you have a general contractor that works directly with owners or developers, and they award the developer usually awards the contracts to makes it out for bid for GCs, right? General contractors, and the GC then puts out the project for bids, and then that's when a subcontractor can bid the project and see if they will be awarded depending on your pricing, your quality of work, and it just kind of goes down the chain of how that works. Um, but like I mentioned, we were myself and my cousins included. We were first generation college students, so at the time we were just providing a lot of the times labor to your big subcontractors in the state. We were, because we didn't have any experience like estimating or uh, just running a business, if that makes sense. So we had to learn the actual trade, but also understand like the office, how that side of things work. Your business development, your marketing, your estimating, which is your most important thing that's going to bring in work. So a lot of my family members have a big footprint at Auburn University's building science program, which is a very really good program, very well respected program in the construction industry. And they either went to work for the family business or went to work for a general contractor. They decided to go that route, working for a GC. But you know, my after I graduated from the University of Alabama, I graduated in summer of 2022. I moved out to Dallas, Texas, and I started my commercial real estate career out in Dallas as a commercial real estate appraiser. So worked with a company out there for about close to a year. close to a year, and it's a very well respected company out there. Lowry Property Advisors, very good company in Texas. You know, they're all over Texas, and I know they're in other states now. Um, and one of the reasons I chose that company was because being at that company, it gave me the opportunity to kind of get to appraise not just one asset, like one property type. They gave you kind of the opportunity to get um, experience in appraising, you know, vacant land, retail, office, industrial. So it wasn't just in appraisal. I've heard from a lot of peers that I went to other companies. They usually stick you with one property type, and so I was very fortunate to be able to kind of get experience on several type of property types, and surprisingly, one of my very first properties that I've ever appraised, like kind of types, was industrial flex space, kind of like so metal pre-engineered building warehouses all over like Dallas, Fort Worth, and that's kind of where I'm kind of you know thinking like, oh, this property type is very high in demand all over the country. You know, your owner user, um, you know, small business owners that want to expand their space, but they're not ready yet to get like 100,000 square foot warehouse. Um, you know, your typical 5,000 to even 30,000 in that range, and did very really enjoyed the time there. Got to get a lot of experience first off the bat, understanding valuation, right? Um, just being able to distinguish, like, hey, you know, this is how real estate kind of works. Like when you ever somebody wants to buy a property, wants to build, you know, they go to a bank for a loan, and the bank kind of hires the appraisal firm to kind of run a report on it and stuff. And decided to move back to Birmingham, Alabama after about being almost there for close to a year, and came back and did an internship. So I was already graduated full time, but an opportunity came to do an internship with a group here in Birmingham. It's a private equity company on the value add multifamily, like underwriting, like 80s build apartments, kind of like putting lipstick on a pig is what I heard the term of the real estate people say, like, you know, value add, right? Got to do underwriting for apartments and industrial. Um, Spent about 4 months just understanding, hey, like, you know, working in a financial model, um, you know, looking at every metric to see if a deal was going to pencil out for us. And, you know, around the time that I was looking for a full time position. Um, but at the time when I came back, obviously, even on when I was exiting from Dallas, is when interest rates were not the best, right? They were kind of high. Insurance for properties were expensive. So, you know, I spent the whole summer there, and we was uh, underwriting deals constantly to see if they penciled out. But it was really hard to make anything pencil out just because of how interest rates were performing. So, um, I kind of decided to go back fully to the family business after my internship, and try to grow kind of like that side of the business, like the drywall. Handled kind of did a lot, man. I was handling multiple roles as you know, as an entrepreneur and family owned business. You kind of have to wear a lot of hats. You know, I was the face of the company, kind of marketing us, trying to get articles made on the company and construction in Alabama, um, business development, going to talk to general contractors, taking people out to lunch, attending like events. Um, but also was really focused on opening up a development arm, right? Um, Part of the reason I came back and kind of partnered up with my cousins and my uncle is because I would, you know, would see these buildings be so successful and in demand that I wanted to develop one myself with the family and with in-house general contracting. So uh, my cousin decided to, um, start studying for the general contractor's license test and be able to attain that license, for future. Obviously, that opens up a new, arm to be able to do general contracting work as well for any like owner. Um, but I just felt that there was a business model for us there to be able to build low and sell at a good price for some good returns. Um, and Yeah, obviously it was not like overnight where we got our license right as a company. We were, a lot of months of late nights for him to study for that exam and planning and um, but was able to attain the exam and pass it after his long hours of studying and
Yeah.
putting in a lot of effort into it. And he smart guy, like I mentioned, Auburn building science guy as well. Um, Attained the general contractor's license for the company, and it was opportunities there now, man. So we got the license and we opened up the development arm and just started by early as, hey, let's go talk to a bank, let's go talk, make relationships with lenders, and pitch this idea of what we kind of want to do. And I'm 20, just turned 26. My cousin turned 29, and my other cousin's 28. So we're young. We're young entrepreneurs, and my uncle, he is 47. Um, so like he trusted us, like the new generation, with kind of the capital he's built over the years in the drywall industry, which is very thankful to this day for my uncle kind of letting us listen to us. Being in the family business, a lot of people encounter that it's not as easy as it sounds to be in the family business. A lot of people can't agree on stuff, right? you know it's family, yes, but a lot of the times, like, that's your first, like, kind of like test, like, can you guys come to an agreement, work stuff out, um and keep it professional to be able to be successful, right? And I've heard it from a lot of people in like even very larger companies. That's kind of the first question that everybody asks, like, how is it working in the family business? I loved it. It was amazing. And it's good to kind of see where my uncle has brought the company. He did not have a college education. He learned the trade at a very young age and was really smart with his money, as in saving his money to reinvest it back into the company. And obviously, um, he invested in his sons to put them through a very good program, like college wise. Um, and you know Now it's kind of time for the new generation to kind of take over is what they're doing, and be able to just you know take the company to the next level. And we always talked about making other sources of revenue other than drywall and framing, because it's a very competitive business. It's a very competitive, and yeah, so we talked to a bank. We secured our construction loan, and obviously we're young and stuff, but we were able to show the bank we have some funds in the bank from the business account from like over the years and stuff. And your typical terms, your 80/20 loan of value, um, your construction loan kind of interest only for a certain amount of period. Typically, you see them from like 12 months uh, or longer. But kind of talked to several banks, build relationships with the bankers, and really felt confident with a group out of Huntsville, like the North Alabama area bank, and secured the construction loan. So we had the funds, right? We were ready to kind of uh, start getting pricing, right? Build a budget, like a more secure budget. Well, we had to provide a budget to the bank for the loan and stuff, of kind of what we were doing. Um, but this was going to be like a more accurate budget, kind of to the pinpoint of like, hey, a subcontractor is, we send out the drawings to the subcontractors and they will start pricing very like very, you'll get a very close number of what you're going to spend.
Mm.
And you know prior to that, we talked to several architects, civil engineers, to kind of get those drawings designed. So then we we did all that. There was a lot of stuff that was behind the scenes as well. Even before the pricing, like you had to make sure you're able to get a construction permit from the city. Go talk to the city and stuff. And one of the most important things is the land acquisition, right? Um, we we had bought the land back in 2021. So we bought the land for a really good price. At no, to be exact, $80,000, right under an acre, and it happened to be zoned light industrial when my uncle bought it, and he bought the land because he knew that one day he was gonna build something there. He didn't know what it was. He was just kind of holding onto it, and it just worked out really good that when I got back and you know everything was kind of getting closer and closer, I did my due diligence on hey, let me check the flooding of the property from my appraisal background. Let me check to the surveys and see if make sure there's no easements on the property. Any just checking like your due diligence that an appraiser would do, um, to make sure the property before it's even developed, to make sure there's no issues on the property. So yeah, so we all this, telling you, it took time. It wasn't just like, hey, let's develop this you know tomorrow. Took several months to kind of get everything kind of ready for to break ground on the building. But you know we had to attend several council meetings at the city and finally got approved for that. So got approved to be able to build that. Uh, got my permit, and we were ready to go. We were ready to go to. It's ready to build. So finalized budgeting everything from every trade. We needed a trade geotech reports. You're early kind of do a test on the actual soil to make sure your soil's good to build and can withstand a 10,000 square foot building. So part of that was just a lot of due diligence on the front end, and we were ready to go. We had a steel company prices on the actual building from the architectural design, and that in itself too is with construction lead times can slow a project down significantly. So my advice to any young developers or anybody, to make sure that you order stuff ahead of time. When you think you have time, you don't. Make sure you plan ahead more and more, because you never know. You never want to be slowed down on a project, just because that adds time of construction. Money is you know money's involved, right? So you want to make sure everything is on schedule and stuff. So our building was about an 8 week lead time from the start of ordering it to the time it was going to be delivered on site.
Mm.
So, um, we planned ahead on that and had the building even purchased for a while. And yeah, so just did all that, made sure that all my subcontractors price everything precise, make sure they compared, different pricing to make sure one person didn't leave something out that, they could make mistakes, right? So you just kind of, as now acting as a general contractor, you kind of have to make sure, do your due diligence on that end to make sure there's not something that's completely missed, because the lowest number doesn't always mean, hey, this is the lowest number, you're going to save the money there. No, you got to make sure you do your due diligence as a construction manager and estimator to make sure prices are kind of within range with everybody, but also make sure nobody forgot like a big part of what's going to happen on site. Um, but yeah, so we first thing first trade that was out there was a geotech company doing the soil tests. So everything came back, even to have those records. So if we ever sold the building one day, we would have like compaction reports, and just could show like, hey, here's the test on the soil. Um, and then after that, that's when it really started to like, all your hard work is you're starting to see it once site work begin. So once that dirt starts moving, there's no going back on that. Like it starts everything. You get all these emotions, right? Like as in like, hey, this is really happening. Like after waiting and kind of just taking time. Once those big heavy equipments are out there and start, uh, getting the site ready to build like a concrete pad, then you're like, oh wow, like this is really taking off. So um, the site work contractor kind of walk you kind of through little steps that I noticed as a finance and student that kind of stood out to me. So they provided us with erosion control, and kind of like the first step in construction was like, hey, we need to make sure that our projects, I don't know if you've been on construction sites, but there's typically like stuff enclosing the actual job site,
Yeah.
like, erosion control. There's like, um, it's a big part of it, man. And I did not think about it like, coming from a finance background in college. When construction, now that after it was done, like you don't want to disturb your neighbors with like, hey, if it rains and there's dirt all over, you don't want to be that person that all that stuff is going on your neighbor's property and be an issue, and then they complain to the city
Yeah.
because you know stuff that you don't think about, like that's so important is so
Hmm.
important, like as simple as that. Preparing to get your property kind of enclosed, have erosion control all over site to make sure you're not disturbing your neighbors. Um, and then, like I mentioned, your concrete pad was ready. So then my concrete contractor came out there and started kind of doing
Mm.
and getting everything ready for your concrete footings, which is your structural, like your foundation of like a actual building. Um, So typically those are poured first. Not typically, always. They're always poured first. Your concrete footings, and there's got to be an inspection on those from the city. So important. So they poured our concrete footings. Uh, the inspector came out there, met with him, and just kind of took notes of like, hey, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? And
Right.
um, I just was curious myself because I didn't kind of have that construction background. But I was just curious to like every step, just be out there and kind of learn. And then after that pass, we had, you know, your ground like utilities, kind of like your electrical that was run through the ground, your plumbing, your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. You know, before even concrete's poured, they have to come out there and stub stuff out like underground. Um, so had met all those contractors out there on site and made sure all that was done before like our big, concrete pad pour was done. So once all that was done, I remember it so good because it was a very cold morning, early start, 2 a.m. Concrete guys like to get out there super early just to make sure there's no traffic affecting them. And it was a pretty big slab. It was a 10,000 square foot one. Um, I would see concrete trucks coming in and out constantly. Um, and we made it, a little bit stronger, um, with purpose of thinking of like, hey, whoever leases this or buys this, we're going to give them the option that we went, you know, far and beyond to make the concrete withhold like a heavy equipment or like a heavy trucking company be able to operate in there.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, we made sure the concrete was really good. Um, so they poured the concrete, everything was good. Um, Several hours out there in the cold, just kind of taking notes of what's going on, asking like their foreman, like, hey, what are you doing? And I don't know if you have experience of being on a pour yet, like a concrete pour, but it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to get to see it and how like everything is just kind of done. Um,
Yeah, I haven't been to a concrete pour.
yeah, I definitely recommend it to experience it one time in your lifetime because you learn a lot. But concrete's poured. Um, we let it kind of cure for a couple days, and then next step was my metal erector was out there.
Mm.
So he started throwing steel up. He started
Yeah.
quick. These guys are used to working very fast and um, you know, they have a kind of like, I don't know if you've been around steel and iron workers. They're very efficient with what they do and like are good at being in those heights, kind of handling steel.
Right.
Uh, but it was very cool to get to see, you know, it's starting to form now. It's not just concrete and site work. You started kind of seeing the building as it being erected and getting the building to a shell condition. So a shell condition is just kind of like having the everything done, like but the like kind of office and stuff was still left. Just kind of getting the building enclosed, the roof, everything just ready to go. Um, so we got the building to a shell condition, and then where we also saved a lot of money was we were able to we know a lot of people in the industry construction industry in Alabama, so a lot of our friends, my uncles and father's friends, they do you know concrete. They have their own subcontracting company. They do concrete, they do steel, uh,
Yeah.
do site work. So it was good to really build relationships throughout the years, and part of it was through our my uncles and my father. And we got the best pricing on it, on every trade, and got the building to shell. And then that's kind of where we kind of self-performed the drywall, all the interior build out. Like the office was about 1,000 square feet of the building was just office. So we did all the metal stud framing, insulation, hanging, drywall, finishing, acoustical ceiling, flooring, paint. So your office was all done with our some of our best crews that
Yeah.
that we have. So saved a lot of money there. And a kind of like a unique position that we had. We kind of engaged our broker very early on as construction. I went to talk to them before even construction started. Kind of pitched my idea to Colliers International, was who really good group here in Birmingham, and met them through previous internships and roles, and kind of stayed connected throughout the years. Um, and obviously did like on my end, market research to see how the properties were performing in this market, right? Because Dallas was completely different from Birmingham, um, but a lot of due diligence on my end on, hey, there's not a lot of new build like this. What is this leasing for currently? What is it? What is this? Can you sell this for X amount? Like, I was doing a lot of research on my end, as well, of like, hey, don't set ourselves up for failure. Um, but it was very um, rewarding because they were like staying in contact through all everything, and like, hey, well, how's this going? Like, um, we could even, obviously, one of our model was like, hey, if the tenant wants a larger break room or a conference area, we're the interior contractor, so we could, obviously, if the city approves it and the drawings, the architect can, the changes that have to happen, we could kind of pitch that to them, like, hey, we could do your office build out as you like, obviously getting it approved by the city, and making those designs changes in the plans or the drawings. But let's say later on your owner wanted to expand their conference table, we could do that for them easy.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so it was pretty good to be able to have pitched that to them as well. So yeah, man, after the interior stuff went in, your electrical, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, electrical, mechanical was done as well throughout that. Was very important just to get that building closed in. And the final cost to build that building, we obviously acquired the land for 80,000, and built that building at $57 a square foot, which is a 10,000 square foot building. And even before I was speaking to brokers, you're kind of like, rule of thumb is what they would tell me is, construction on that type of building, you typically build anywhere from $100 a square foot to 110. So I knew I had a very strong model there, right? Like, I'm building, my advantage is the construction side of things. Like, I'm building low at a low cost and can sell for a good return, right? Um, so, you know, yeah, I built
Yeah.
the whole with land acquisition. The the we were able to build it for 650,000, and my uncle and cousins and myself, we sold the building close to about now 5 months for around 1.18. So made a really good return on there. But so obviously a lot of hard work went into it, and you know, was not easy, but it was very rewarding to kind of see, because at the end of the day, my uncle kind of trusted us with the family's capital, and kind of taking out a construction loan under the family business. And so it was very stressful, man. We wanted to make sure, I always knew real estate was a good investment, but development is very risky. Not everything always goes as planned. You have construction issues. Kind of the notes that I took too is like, you want to make sure your infrastructure, like underground stuff, is really good, because that could drive your cost up drastically if you have any issues. So any advice is just to make sure you do your due diligence on the land itself to make sure there's no hidden cost later on that can throw a deal off completely for yourself as a developer. Um, so due diligence, very important. And yeah, man. So
Yeah.
was able to successfully sell that, and now it's a cheerleading group that's in that building, uh, kind of like for young kids that are in like learning to do like I guess like competitive cheerleading.
Okay.
That facility is used as like a obviously has office space, but like for like cheerleading stuff. So and I think the guy I never got to meet the guy, but I think him and his father were involved in real estate in the state as well. And I don't know if he's an Alabama alumni as well. But from talking to the broker, and his father and him were involved in real estate. So it was good to get it off our hands. You kind of build a relationship with the building after it's done. You want to sell it and make sure, you make a profit on it, but it's so nice kind of seeing it done and like kind of you hate to see it go, but also um it gives you an opportunity to do it again, right? And obviously the family's plan is to keep doing that again and just kind of repeating that, and essentially at some point just being able to build a portfolio of just holding the properties and um, just making rental income on them. But since it was the first one, we wanted to make sure, you know, we paid the bank off quickly and could return, kind of roll over some of that profit into more buildings and keep it going.
Yeah.
But we put the building up for sale or lease. So I'll kind of go over a little bit of kind of some offers we had. I mean, we had offers to lease that building. Your typical triple net lease, $10 to $11 a square foot. With it being triple net, your tenant's going to cover your real estate taxes, your insurance, and property like maintenance in the area. So it's a really good lease structure. I really like that triple net lease. Um, and typically you would see those buildings being leased for 5 to 7 years. So even that, you have like an opportunity to lease it to like a credit worthy tenant, and then an investment sale can happen really quickly because somebody sees a cash flowing asset, and that's also an opportunity then and there to kind of get a credit worthy tenant in your building and then hold on to it some more and when the time is right to sell. But yeah, man, I did a lot of talking. I want to kind of give you the opportunity to ask me any questions. I kind of wanted to walk you a little bit through how development went, and I know it's not going to be like everything in depth, but I wanted to kind of do a kind of summary of it and kind of how we accomplished that at the first building. But just wanted to give you the time to kind of ask me any questions or anything you want to know about it. So
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for sharing. I thought it was super cool that you were able to kind of give us a play-by-play and really talk about a lot of things that the average person wouldn't normally hear or really see.
yeah,
Were there any, I don't know, were there any unforeseen challenges that you faced? I know you mentioned, maybe being, you'd have to wait 8 weeks for materials to get on site, or were there anything in hindsight, maybe mistakes made that helped you kind of see things clear for the next time?
yeah. So no, that's a great question. So the construction lead time was obviously a good one to take note of. 8 weeks. Um, and obviously at the time, there's always supply chain issues, a lot of stuff
Mm.
time. So that was a big like, hey, make sure um, for anything that this is a very important task that has to be done is make sure that we were able to get it delivered quickly. But that was something that really stood out to me, and the team make sure that your lead times, not just for the building, man, surprisingly everything, like in construction, a lot of your like windows can have a very long lead time.
Mm,
Storefronts anywhere, um, you want to make sure everything is ordered. You know, you also then and there, man, you got to practice. Since we self perform like the interior stuff, we were making sure we had good deals on material.
mm,
How is your material cost? Like, hey, you talk to your vendors and see who can offer some good deals on material and is efficient with their service and stuff. We had a couple of change orders that happened on site. The site work, not nothing major, right? But it's just stuff that we wanted to add extra as we were building, like just extra stuff from our subcontractors. But we want, as a developer, and you want to, and as a general contractor, you want to make sure you don't have a lot of those and
mm,
unforeseen change orders. I don't know how familiar you are with change orders, but essentially what a change order is, it's something that was either missed by the general contractor or something that was unforeseen, and the subcontractor is going to charge you a percentage more for that work being done apart from what their original contract amount was. So obviously it's extra work, and they but it's going to drive your cost up more than if you had a budget, right? So as a developer, you want to make sure everything's kind of, everything that's going on, and you try to not have as many change orders as
mm.
as possible. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
something um, that construction was, flowed very smoothly. So yeah, other than that,
absolutely. Yeah, I know you mentioned how you worked with a couple cousins and your uncle as well. For somebody that maybe doesn't have expertise or financial backing, what do you think is something, what do you think generally holds back someone from even getting into investment or development?
yeah. So great question. Honestly, man, um, there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of resources. There's a lot of good people, smart people that are willing to help the young entrepreneurs, right? Um, I my advice is just to pick up the phone, take somebody to coffee, take somebody to get lunch. You don't realize how much people are willing to help you when they see that you are really like a sharp uh, young entrepreneur and really, want to go far and beyond. Go that extra mile and get advice from them. So, you know, just being able to get advice from your experience peers around you, and any city that you are, be able to, talk to lenders, commercial lenders, and learn more about it. Just, do your research online. Obviously, thankfully, I had a financial background from my degree, but even then, like, I was still doing research on my end and talking to several people, several other developers, and kind of seeing, you know what they would see or expect on a term sheet for like a construction loan and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Carlos, is there anything that you haven't said that you just like to reiterate or kind of hit home for us?
Yeah, man. I mean, my one of the things that I would like to say is just, um, you know, nothing in life comes easy, right? Being a first generation college student, I had the option to just, stay in the family business and kind of not kind of pursue a career path for myself, and at the time, you know, college was expensive, but I knew that there was more to life than just like framing, hanging drywall and stuff. So I strongly like kind of the thing that I advise would just never give up. Um, be persistent and disciplined on your goals, and make small wins. Right? It's not going to happen overnight. Just really, really work hard at something that you're passionate about, but also understand that it comes with time. It's not going to
Mm.
happen overnight. So um, be able to, be be able to get these experiences and also give back to the community, as in, teaching other people, some experiences you had, or being able to just learn from people. But I would say just never give up. So
Absolutely, Carlos. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end the show. Man, thank you so much for coming on and really just explaining a little bit about your background, your story, getting into the business, and ultimately, no pun intended, building upon your knowledge, right? Through
yeah.
drywall and finance. And I think it's really neat you've come full circle. And thank you again for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. Obviously, very thankful for the family business. The Canales have a big footprint here in Birmingham and all over the state. But thankful for the uncles that have made this possible, and just really kind of taught us at a young age to be hard workers, and always be willing to learn. So, and I appreciate you, and thankful that you gave me the opportunity to kind of this platform to kind of share my story, and just put my I will give you my email or anything. Anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to reach out, or I can hop on a Zoom call. I'm in Alabama, but I'm no if anybody's out of state or anything, just hop on and get back. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I'll definitely have your information in the show notes. Carlos, again, thank you so much. This is Aaron Trevino signing off, and we will talk to y'all next time. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks.